Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be going over chapter 4. It's going to be dealing with fats. So make sure you pay attention while you're reading because there's a lot of good information in this chapter. Uh, this real quick overview. There's a lot of words, key terms in this chapter that you might not be familiar with, but some of them that you're definitely going to have to be familiar with are going to be the lipids, fats, and oils. Just to name a few, and that is actually on page 98. All right, and then on page 99, some really good information that it has of foods that are have like no fats in it. And it has broccoli, it has some of your fruits, some of your grains might have like it says, like 1% of fat, so many ounces of grams of for in dairies, and uh, so many grams of fat within fish and of that nature. So you always want to get foods that don't have a lot of fat and saturated monosaturated fats as well. And it'll go into more into detail on the table on page 99. It's figure 4-2. Okay, and then it'll also go into for 4-1, and it's on page 100. And it talks about fat free, low fat, medium fat, high fats, very, very high fat. So make sure you go over that table so it'll go more into the explanation of it. And we also go into 4-2, where it goes to lean proteins, medium proteins, and high proteins, and where they talk about the poultry, the beef, the lamb, eggs, and pork, and things of that nature. Make sure you go over that so you can differentiate about what you're able to eat and what is high in fat and that is low in lean meats, and what different percentages that of fat to lean meat ratio that it has in there. All right, make sure you find what is triglycerides and fatty acids in food as well. Okay, another one is make sure you learn about the different types of oils on page 103. It talks about animal fats and tropical oils such as coconut oils containing mostly saturated fatty acids. It talks about coconut oil, butter, beef fat, palm oil, pork fat, chicken fat, which is really really bad for you. But then it also talks about olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil, which is a lot better and a lot healthier for you as well. Okay. Also, we want you to know about saturated fatty acid and the unsaturated fatty acid as well. Unsaturated. Make sure you know the definitions of those and also examples of those. If you read that, it says saturated fatty acid has a maximum possibility of numbers of hydrogen among attached to every carbon atom. In other words, it is saturated with hydrogen atoms. All right, we'll try to simplify that more in another discussion when I put that further online. Okay, but this is really just a rough overview of what the chapter is going to be. Okay, make sure you go over that and read your chapter. Also, on page 106, we're going to go into more of the polysaturated, saturated, and trans fat, and that is table 4.3, which gives you more examples of the good, not so good, and the really bad fats. You need to know what is good, not so good, and the really bad fats for you. And I know it was Super Bowl Sunday yesterday, and I know yesterday the place that I went to, they had a bunch of trans fat. They had a bunch of chicken wings. They had they had frozen pizzas. They did have microwave popcorn. They had cakes, so all the frosting that was in it. So they had a lot of trans fat, and they also had some saturated fat. There was pork in there, pulled pork. All the fried foods, and then I wish they could have had, used some more polysaturated fat, which was the vegetable oils, maybe some monosaturated. But we also want to make sure we get into some omega 3s as well, right? Make sure you can define the essential fatty acids, the omega 6 fatty acids, omega 3, and the DHA, which is on page 107 as well. Let's see. We also want to know fat within the body, the cholesterol. This is on the fat in the body. Okay, we wanted bile. Bile's you need to know what bile and where bile comes from. Okay, how it is produced and why it is produced. Okay, and what the dietary recommendations are for that. On page 112, it talks about heart attacks and strokes. And how does fat contribute to the heart attacks and strokes? And it'll explain to that within this chapter, and especially on page 112, because it says right here, it says, consume less than 10% of the kcals from saturated fats by replacing them with polyunsaturated and monosaturated fats. So, that's just one example. And also try to give me examples of what those are. Okay. And then on page 114, it talks about the different types of oils. And with almond oil, avocado oil, canola, coconut oil, this is what's good for you, the characteristics, the kcals per tablespoons, and this usage, what you can use it for. So make sure you go over that and try to get familiar with that, so you can make a better choice. Okay, so once again, I hope you have a great week. Make sure that you are ready to take your quiz. I will post it a password for it. You will take it on a Tuesday, so it'll probably be around 11 o'clock your time. Just so after you see this, you'll be getting ready for it. It'll be over chapter 3, which I did send out a reminder on Sunday. Also, you need to follow your discussions that are on your chapter. When you see those discussions, you need to fill them out. You need to respond. You need to put your response and then respond to 2 other classmates. If you do not do that, you will receive a 0 for your discussions. For you that are doing that, this will not pertain to you. But for you that have not done it, and some of you that are not doing it, you will receive a 0. So this is just a fair warning, just to let you know. Make sure you do your homework, you fill everything out like you're supposed to, and turning it in. If you have any questions, please make sure you get a hold of me in a timely fashion. I'm always at school, so my door is open. You can email me, you can call me. So make sure you just get a hold of me so we can talk about some issues you might have before it gets too late. Thank you so much, and make sure you read chapter 4 over fats, because everything just works together, and it kind of goes with what we talked about in chapter 3, which was carbohydrates. And you're going to see how everything starts working together. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Make sure you do your homework. Have a great day. Bye-bye.